So I thought about doing the whole going live thing, but I'm still a little too afraid for that because I tend to ramble and get off total and crazy squirrel moments. So I decided I'd go old school and record myself. But I want to tell you guys all a story about something very personal to me. About 1 year ago, we went for a drive as a family up into the mountains. My husband likes to take his car and go off-roading, and as scary as that is for me, I'd be the supportive wife, and I enjoy the scenery. When we got home, the two little boys were asleep in the back car, or in the back seat, and so we were unloading them, and I noticed that Parker had wet his pants, and it wasn't just like a little bit. It was if, like, you know, somebody had dumped a gallon of liquid on him. He was soaked. And I remember thinking, man, that's kind of weird. He doesn't do that, you know, he's 4. But as the days went on, he kept having accidents. I mean, like 5-6 times a day, and I remember getting so frustrated with him and getting after him and telling him he was being lazy, and he would get thirsty, and he kept telling me he was thirsty, and I would say, well, quit drinking and you'd quit peeing your pants. And after a few days, I realized he was going to the bathroom like every 5-10 minutes. And I just thought, you know what? In the back of my mind, something told me you need to test his blood sugar, because my dad is type 1 diabetic also, and I knew the symptoms, I knew the signs, and so I knew my dad was coming to town. So I called him and I just said, I don't think it's anything, but just to ease my mind, could you come and test Parker's blood sugar? And in the meantime, you know, he was continuing to drink and to urinate. He would fly into these angry rages that would last sometimes an hour or more. And it was as if somebody had just possessed my son, and I just felt so hopeless. But then on the other side, he was happy and full of energy and would go for rides on his scooters and jump on the trampoline. And my dad showed up to test his blood sugar, and I brought him in off the trampoline, and of course he cried and he screamed because he didn't want his finger poked. And my dad pricked his finger, and the meter couldn't even read his sugars because they were so high. And my dad started to cry, and I was in kind of a shock denial, so we washed his finger and we tested his blood sugar again, and again the meter just said high. And so my dad called over to Rocky Mountain Diabetes, where he's been a patient for 41 years now, and they had us rush over to the hospital. So it was a whirlwind of calling neighbors to help us with kids and jumping in the car, and Parker was crying and didn't want to go to the doctor, and I just kind of felt numb, and my dad was crying, and we got to the clinic and they had to draw blood, and I remember just crying as I held my son on my lap as they drew blood, and he didn't even cry one tear. He just kind of sat there afraid. And then they put us in a room, and I remember the doctor coming in and talking to us, and I was just kind of confused, and finally I had to stop him and say, are you telling me my son has diabetes? And he said yes. He said he was surprised that Parker was even conscious because his sugars were so high. And he said that if we would have waited even another 24 hours, our son would have been in the ER, and a few more days we could have lost him. I felt numb for a while after that. I kind of had this, I gotta be strong, I've got this attitude, and about an hour and a half later, they sent us home with a diabetes kit with instructions on counting carbs and testing his blood sugars every 2 hours and insulin shots. And from that moment on, our world was changed. And we've had a lot of ups and we've had a lot of downs in the last year. We've had a lot of scary moments where his sugars have dropped low enough that he could have seizures. But luckily, we were blessed enough to find it before it got to those points. I've had a lot of days where I lay down by him in my bed and watch him sleep. And I cry because I know that this is something he'll have the rest of his life. You know, within, you know, the first like 2 days of his diagnosis, I had people approaching me about, you know, these multi-level marketing companies who had these natural remedies that were going to cure my son. And I had the questions of, did you feed him too much sugar? Or if you just remove all the sugar from his diet and help him exercise more, you know, can you make it go away? Can you make it him not have diabetes anymore? And that's been the hardest thing, I think, for me to deal with, is the fact that there's a stigma out there that type 1 diabetes is not type 2 diabetes. And that's not to make light of type 2 diabetes, it's just that it's a completely different disease. My son's pancreas does not produce insulin anymore. Nothing we do, no matter how hard we try, it's not gonna all of a sudden just start producing again. It's gone. It doesn't work. It doesn't function. And so I guess I've kind of grown thick skin, and I laugh about it. You know, the people who try to make me feel better by saying, well, at least your child doesn't have cancer. It could be worse. And I think, yep, I'm glad my son doesn't have cancer, but he still has diabetes. And for me right now, that is worse. I've had days where I get on my knees and I cry and I tell my Heavenly Father, I can't do it. I can't get up tomorrow and I can't keep going. I don't want to do this anymore. Please take it away. And I hear him telling me, Jaleisha, if you decide to get up tomorrow and not do this anymore, Parker will die. And sometimes that's an overwhelming reality to know that I don't have a choice. There is no end in sight. There is no, you know, 30 more days and he'll be better or he'll be cured. It's every day, every night. Do it all over again. Measure his food, count the carbs, test his blood sugars. He takes 6-8 shots a day and he takes them like a champ. He's amazing. He's learned how to test his own blood sugars. You know, a lot of times in the night, I can give him shots and test his blood sugar, and he has no idea. He's just this amazing, strong young man, and I'm so proud to be his mom. You know, and we've received so many blessings too. It hasn't all been bad. But I reflect over the last year, well, almost year, in about 2 weeks, and I just think, wow. You know, Heavenly Father's really blessed me. It's been really hard, but He's really blessed me. I have the world's best husband. I wish I could show you the amount of alarms he has on his cell phone as we get up in the night and test his blood sugars all hours of the night sometimes. Because if we don't, bad things happen. His sugars go high, his sugars go low. We have to work 24/7 to keep him as stable as possible. My 12-year-old son, my 11-year-old daughter, my 8-year-old daughter, they can all test blood sugars. They can all give insulin. They are our babysitters now. Parker doesn't like to play at friends' houses. He doesn't like to be away from us. And my family has been my biggest support system. I've learned how small my circle is now. I hold so strong to my local diabetic community and those people who understand what we're going through. And I'm so grateful for them. I'm so thankful that I have my son. That as much as diabetes sucks, and I pray every day for a cure, I'm so thankful that I have him. And I'm so thankful that he's healthy and that with daily treatments that he will live a long, amazing life. I'm so thankful we've made it through this first year, well, almost. And I know it can only get better from here. So thanks you all for listening to my tears and my rants, and I feel a lot better getting that off my chest. Have a great day.